NZXT N7 B650E motherboard, stealth looks, great features, minimal design. You can easily call this one of the most beautiful motherboards out there. But what lies behind all the masks here, since this board literally looks like it has an armor of sort that hides everything? Word from a sponsor and we shall unbox it and see what lies behind the mask. Looking for affordable Windows or Office keys? Look no further, I got you covered. Head over to scdkey.com, pick your Windows edition, use my discount code LE25 to get a 25% on any Windows or Office products. Once you complete your order, after a few seconds you will receive your code. In Windows, go to Settings, there should be an Activate Windows prompt at the bottom. Click that, enter your code and wait for Windows to finish activation. To check the activation status, use the command prompt with the command slmgr.vbs/xpr and you should receive a notification that the machine is permanently activated. Once again, use code LE25 at scdkey.com. The box is a little bit bigger than the usual motherboard boxes, and if you ever had a chance to see or own an ASRock board, things will look familiar, since this board is made by ASRock but with NZXT skin added on top. Technically, it is not available as an ASRock board as it has things changed and added according to NZXT demands. The board looks super stealthy and minimal at the same time. Of course, it is available in black or white color. In the box you will also be getting a manual, SATA cables, screws for M.2 slots and Wi-Fi antennas. This is obviously an AMD AM5 motherboard, and with the latest BIOS updates it accepts Ryzen 7000 and 9000 CPUs. It has 4 RAM slots accepting up to 128GB in total, and it is running at speeds of 6000 plus up to 7200 plus. But we all know that 6000 is the sweet spot for AM5 CPUs anyway. Removing the M.2 covers is easy. The bottom one and the middle one are toolless and they are held in place just with magnets. I mean, the removal is super easy, just pull it up, but they don't have any contact with the actual NVMe drives in the slot. I mean, this is bad for the cooling, which is a real missed opportunity if you ask me, since these bottom 2 slots are Gen 4 and if you put your NVMe drives here, they will not be cooled properly. Just keep this in mind. I mean, NZXT could have made the covers fully metal and with cooling pads, so they at least dissipate some heat from the drives. So, top NVMe slot does have a massive metal heatsink, since this is a PCI 5 enabled slot, I mean the board, and I ran a Gen 5 drive here just to see how it performs, hitting speeds above 13,000 MB for read and around 12,000 for write, while the drive operated at 63 degrees max, so the chunky heatsink is doing its job. The board has one PCI Gen 5 slot and two Gen 4 X16 slots as well, where these two bottom ones operate actually at X2 speed only, so you can have Gen 4 NVMe support for the middle and bottom slots. The middle NVMe slot is X4 and the bottom one is X2 mode only. Trade-off is okay if you ask me, and I honestly don't know any users that would use more than one GPU anyway, so anything you put in these slots will work, since the majority of add-on cards operate in X1 mode anyway. Above the second PCI slot there is also a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth card which supports Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2 mode. Regarding the CPU power, this board is an absolute overkill for its tier position. 16+2+1 phase design with 90 amps smart power stages, capable of handling 7950X or 9950X as well. The 16 power phases use the RAA229620 controller, and they also use the same ISL99390B MOSFETs found on ASRock motherboards, which ensure smooth and reliable power delivery to the processor. The other phases are used for RAM and chipset. There is also an integrated heatsink above the MOSFETs and chokes and blends nicely with the back I/O shield, which is also attached directly to the board, so you can't forget to insert it in the case. Speaking of the I/O shield, it has all you need: HDMI 2.1 port capable of running 4K at 60Hz resolution. There is a clear CMOS button present here, as well as BIOS flashback button, which is an awesome feature to have. Two Wi-Fi antenna ports are also here, two USB 2.0 ports, one is used for the BIOS flashback function, it is highlighted in the white color, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, it uses Realtek RTL8125BG 2.5 gigabits LAN chip, so no issues like the With the Intel chips, there are two USB 3.2 Gen 2 10GB ports, one USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 10GB port as well, and four USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, followed by a 5.1 surround sound card with SPDIF optical out. The codec used here is the proven ALC 1220, which is good, so literally no complaints here. On the motherboard itself there are plenty of ports, so at the top we can see from right to left that we have two NZXT proprietary RGB connectors. These are also used for their RGB controllers and everything RGB enabled from their lineup. Next we have two 4-pin PWM fan headers and two EPS connectors for CPU power delivery. They are 8 and 4-pin design. On the right side of the board, from top to bottom, we have two 4-pin PWM fan headers, 24-pin power connector, front USB-C Gen 2x2 port, and below that, hidden by the motherboard cover but visible from this side, are angled USB 3.0 front connectors, two of them actually, for maximum support of 4 USB 3.0 front ports and 4 SATA ports as well. On the bottom side of the board, there are tons of connectors. So, starting from the left to right, front audio connectors, two 5V addressable RGB connectors, three USB 2.0 ports for various devices such as AIO pumps, RGB controllers and such, another three 4-pin PWM connectors, which makes 7 in total, impressive really for this board. We have another two NZXT RGB connectors. Next we have physical reset and power buttons, which is super handy if you use this board outside the case, like on the bench table or for troubleshooting and such. And there is also a front I/O panel connector as well. The BIOS is as simple as it can be. There are no simple or advanced views. Everything is simple and intuitive and easy even for beginners. You can set XMP or Expo memory profiles so your RAM can operate properly at maximum speeds. You can set custom fan curves for all the fan headers, and you can also set PBO and curve optimizer as well to undervolt and actually gain some performance in return for your CPU. As I said, it's a simple, modern looking design that has everything you need, but with minimal design, of course, like everything with NZXT. In order to use some functions of this board, you of course need NZXT cam, like with everything from NZXT, and to be frank, they did polish it nicely. It doesn't take a lot of resources from your CPU, actually 1% and under, so don't worry about CPU usage. You have everything under one ecosystem if you use other NZXT products with NZXT cam. Regarding the performance, I haven't noticed anything unusual. I used Ryzen 7 7800X3D on it. Actually, my previous GPU testing video was done using this system here and it performed extremely well. No stutters, no hangs and such, no issues. I mean, you can expect it to work as it should, and it does. NVMe speeds are on point as well, being Gen 5 or Gen 4 drives. The only drawback in my eyes are the NVMe toolless covers that do not get in touch with NVMe drives, so cooling of the set drives is literally non-existent. So this is a big missed opportunity by NZXT to make this. Maybe they will release something like an updated cover or separate add-on cover that mitigate this issue if users actually need it, since not everyone will use all NVMe slots anyway. But I had to mention this as something that is really sticking out. Another missed thing is a PCI latch to remove the GPU easily. In order to remove the GPU, you would need to remove the NVMe heatsink, the first one, so you can access the lever on the PCI slot. It's a hassle that could have been easily avoided. I do get that once you assemble your system, chances of you removing the GPU every other day are slim to none, but if you do remove your GPU a lot for some reason, like I did for the GPU test, well, it kind of gets on your nerves. Since the board has power and reset physical buttons, it's a shame that it doesn't have a debug LCD. It has only the basic SMD LEDs to indicate what is going on during the boot up process. Oh, and speaking of booting up, you might know by now that boot up process on AM5 platforms can take up a long time, but not here. It fires up real quick, which totally surprised me. So this board is literally an overkill for any system, be it a content creation rig or beast gaming rig. The board is quite capable of handling it all. It has plenty of connectors for fans and RGB devices, and the look is second to none. All the heatsinks are blending nicely with the shrouds all over the board. I mean, it looks like some art piece. But this art piece has a price tag of $270 US, which is somewhere in the middle of all B650E boards. It was even more at some point, but the price dropped a little. So if you are into NZXT things and minimal design, this is the board for you. Honestly, there is no better board to pair with a Kraken AIO, NZXT fans and NZXT cases and so on. This is that ecosystem that is well thought and designed to blend together both in hardware terms and with the NZXT CAM software. It is also backed up with a 3-year warranty. So like to share the video, guys, if you liked it. If you have any comments, do your magic down there, and I'll see you in the next one.